Hi there, guys. This is Danny Flexen and FAA Fuad Abdul-Aziz from
What's
Behind the
going off
Gloves.
there? What's going off
I
there,
was
Danny? The
watching a
level of
video of us talking, but an ad came on first. Damn YouTube. As you can see, on a positive note, I'm at fight camp. Who said IFL were the only YouTube channel that were allowed into fight camp? No, no, no. Here I am
well,
at
isn't it?
night time
Isn't
as
it?
well.
It's daylight outside. I don't know how you're there and it's nighttime. I'm sure Essex is in the UK, so yeah, you got some explaining to do for yourself, mate. I think that's
I'm a time
scamming
traveller.
the public. It's scamming.
I'm a time traveller like Doctor Who. And Essex is indeed in the UK. It's not in London, as we discussed off air earlier. You tried to make Essex part of London. Wholeheartedly, on behalf of London, rejected that concept. Sorry, Eddie.
It is.
You can do wonders for Essex, but you can stay there as well. No, just kidding. Yeah, it's been a busy week. 2 UK shows over the weekend for the first time in God knows how long, 6 months maybe.
Yeah.
Did you watch both? I hope so. Otherwise, we're not going to have much to talk about.
Yeah.
Great. What did you make of? Let's start with the Frank Warren show, as it was the earlier one on the Friday night. What did you make of it, and did you enjoy it? Main event was more one-sided than I was expecting.
Yeah, so let's go straight into the main event. That's the only one I actually caught up for. The main, no, I mean, you know, I was looking forward to the main event. But yeah, the main event was definitely closer than what we thought. We discussed about it, didn't we, last week? And we were talking how it is going to be the toughest test and whatnot. But then stylistically, it turned out to favour Lyndon Arthur a lot more than we expected. Lyndon boxed beautifully. He was like counter punching on his back foot beautifully, using his jab really well. And it was like, I was thinking through the rounds, I was like, how this guy match up against Anthony Yard now that I'm seeing he's got this level of skill, and dealt with it under pressure against someone like Deck Spellman, who we talked about last week. He's a good fighter, man. Did you expect more from Deck, or do you just think Lyndon was just, outclassing him?
Yeah, more of the latter, I think. I mean, Dex Bellman is what he is. He's not a great kind of slick technical boxer. He's a tough guy, decent puncher, and someone who does the basics very well. But Lyndon Arthur, I expected him perhaps to be a bit more aggressive, and he turned master boxer and just dominated the fight with his jab. And all credit to him for doing that. Less miles on the clock. Certainly didn't struggle the way he did when he won the Commonwealth title.
For sure.
And, outclassed a very capable opponent.
And it was a very mature performance as well. To say he's still like kind of early in his career, it looked like a pro that's been pro for so long. With the circumstances as well, like he's been out the ring, he's fighting someone who's coming to win. He's got on his mind, he's got another fight on his mind with Anthony Yard. And to say, if you add all those variables up, he still performed like a well-seasoned, solid professional.
Yeah, I agree. And you were a bit unlucky in that, as you said, you only watched the main events. You missed Black Thunder, one of the best nicknames in UK boxing, or Irish boxing, I should say, before I get in loads of trouble. Kevin Ajako, who put on a really good performance against the fired-up, determined Jez Smith, whose brother Mitchell will get his licence back pretty soon, I believe. I saw a Facebook message from him about 10 minutes ago where he said he's not far away now from getting the licence back and returning to pro boxing. But his brother did him proud, did the family name proud. Dogged performance, caught Ajako with a few good shots. But when it came to the crunch, Ajako just showed some world-class potential in flashes. And you can see why they're so high on him, both at Alan Smith's gym and at Queensbury Promotions.
Was Ajako meant to fight a Suman?
No. They were both supposed to be fighting. Suman was supposed to be fighting Cedric Payno.
Okay, right.
Apparently, Payno rolled his ankle a few days before they were going to announce it, so then he came off the show, and I think Ajako replaced him on the show.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
But yeah, it was a really good performance and the type of fight he needed. Going from being a very good class amateur to fighting journeyman as a pro, it's always going to be a tricky transition. Yeah. But he's sparring really good people. He did a lot of good rounds with Billy Joe Saunders, and the effects of that, I think, showed in the end against Jez Smith.
What do you think his progression lies for him next then? Because that's like, obviously everyone's having like a level up of opposition. What do you think is going to be next for him?
I'd like to see him go up against someone like Mark Heffron. I know people talk about Denzel Bentley fighting Mark Heffron. People say, why not just put Bentley in against the Jarko? But they're two potential future stars in that Queensbury outfit. They're not going to want to match them, are they? So one or both of them could end up fighting Heffron and then gradually work their way up. But I think Heffron, if he still makes middleweight as well, because I know he was talking about going up to super middle, I think that'd be a good test for either of them. But Jarko, he looks to be going places.
For sure. What else have we got from this week? Obviously, another event from the first match. No, it was the first. Yeah, it was the first.
From here.
From right behind you.
My back garden.
Eggington Cheeseman really delivered for the first event, and you said that it was one of your favorites. And you were right to be one of your favorites because they put out an absolute war. Some people calling it maybe even a closer decision than what it was. Maybe even some people I saw on Twitter giving it a draw. But
I had it a draw. How did you have it?
I think Ted just kind of like scraped it. But then again, it kind of comes down to what you like. But it was so evenly matched. It kind of it was a good in terms of like. No one got outclassed, right? So Sam Eggington can come back from that type of defeat and be like, all right, let me fight someone else now. It's not like how he said that, okay, if I lose, then this is my luck. Nah, you put in a really good shift against a good Ted Cheeseman, and there's definitely more opportunities for him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Cheeseman, he started off boxing and mixing it up quite well between boxing and brawling, but as he tired in the same way he did against Scott Fitzgerald, he started to fade a little bit, get drawn in more and take more shots, and that made it closer down the stretch. But it's better for our entertainment, obviously, that he did. I interviewed Asinia Byfield last night, who lost to Cheeseman for the British title. Yeah. He was on his way to Belarus. Well, not on his way to Belarus. He was in Belarus, but on his way to the fight venue for the Cold War show. He's actually in action tonight against a Russian. And he was saying, yeah, it was great for the fans, but they're both going to have Eggington and Cheeseman are both going to have really short careers because they both took far too many shots. And it does make you think a little bit, doesn't it? You look at Cheeseman after the fight, he's the winner, bashed up around the face, and he's only 24 years old. And you do worry with that combative style he's got, what's life going to be like after boxing for him?
That's what we were talking about, before. Both of them, we get shocked when we remember how old they are because of the way they fight. And that's just the side of boxing that recently it bothers me as a fan as well. It's like, these guys put their heart out for our entertainment and whatnot, and they fight like how they fight. But yeah, you got to kind of consider their health. I think maybe we need to start looking into that more, like doctors and promoters. And it's just such a business that they probably won't. But dealing with fighters who fight like that, maybe you tell them to take a bit more time off. I know it's their job and it's their profession, but as someone who like maybe manages them or coaches them or promotes them, they should be getting more advice on maybe not change your style because we can't do that, but more so give them time to recuperate and recover.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's weird because there's a contrast with their fight and Jordan Gill against Reece Bellotti, where Gill boxed pretty much within himself and won well against Bellotti. I think one judge had it only by a point. I'm not sure what he was thinking, but just a really disciplined performance, played to his strengths and negated Bellotti's. And then people will look at that and say, some people will be really admiring of a great technical performance. And others, maybe more casual fans, will say, oh, it was a boring fight. It didn't really open the show with enough dynamism. So boxers often can't win. You box with your brain. You can get told you're boring, not entertaining enough or not a draw. You box with your kind of heart. Then you might have a short-lived career and people are worried for your future.
Well, I've always found that statement odd. First things first, it's in sport, right? If someone plays unattractive football in football, as long as they're winning, like Jose Mourinho, for example, or Jose Mourinho, whatever you want to call him, he was holding up their 1-0 wins and he won the title a couple of times, parking the bus, blah, blah. Same, I mean, boxing is a bit more different because they're paying to watch you specifically, not the whole team. But what I think is like, even if you box your way around and, do that type of thing that me and you will appreciate, but maybe not the casual, at the end of the day, you're still going to work your way up to a title shot because you'll be winning regardless. And that's the main thing. So whether or not people like it or not, you'll always have support from your own. And at the end of the day, as long as you win, you'll always get to a point where you'll fight for titles, which is essentially, you don't always have to. I mean, prime example, look at Lomachenko. he's so good at what he does is because people are starting to appreciate the fact that he can make you miss and make you, those are prime examples. And I think fighters might have to open their eyes to that sometimes.
I think there's a lot more neutral fans in boxing, though. That's the thing. If you're a football fan, you follow one team specifically. Yeah. If you're a Chelsea fan and under Mourinho back then and they were playing that sort of football, because you were winning, it didn't really matter. No. And you might go and watch another game like Arsenal, Man City, but you don't care whether they're entertaining or not because they're not your team. And if you don't like it, you'll probably just switch it off. Whereas in boxing, you tune in for a whole night of action. Yeah. You might not be specifically a Jordan Gill fan or a Ted Cheeseman fan or whatever, and you want to be entertained. And don't get me wrong, I thought the Fight Camp show as a whole was very entertaining. I thought the main event was excellent. 12th round was one of the rounds of the year. And I also thought the Dalton Smith's step up against Nathan Bennett.
What a knockout.
Yeah, great knockout. But Nathan Bennett gave a really good account of himself beforehand. He was just a level below, and there's no shame in that. Dalton Smith's one of the hottest prospects in UK boxing at the moment.
And that's exactly what we wanted from Fight Camp. Someone like Dalton Smith, who, we give him as media and like fans who follow the sport literally for a living. We give him the credit he's due, but we want to see him, tested at times, and I think that was perfect. And he passed the test in his own right as well, beating a very tough and showing the level where he's at.
James Tennyson's fight was pretty entertaining as well. It was a shame it was kind of cut short. I mean, not a shame for Tennyson. He was delighted to win the British title, but Gavin Gwynn up until that point had competed on relatively even terms, perhaps against some pre-fight predictions, and it looked like it was turning into a real kind of physical war of attrition until Tennyson found the shots to end it.
Well, Gwynn's a tough fighter. Who did he fight? Was it Cordina? Yeah, he's a tough guy. You can hold it up, and that kind of goes to show the power that Tennyson possesses. Like Tennyson's all of a sudden rose to the top after he lost to what's his name now? What's his name?
Tevin Farmer?
Tevin Farmer. I don't know why that name left my head. After he's lost to Tevin Farmer, he was he's been on an upward slope, and it's kind of interesting to see now he's British champion. Who's he going to fight up there? It's going to be real interesting.
How long is he going to keep the British title for? True. I mean, in the immediate aftermath of beating Gwynn, they were talking about fighting for the European already. So maybe it's just a kind of transitional step for him. Yeah,
and well, he's already fought a world title. I guess then he's probably eyeing the same at this weight class.
Yeah, but unfortunately for him, it's one of the most exciting and competitive divisions in all of boxing.
Yeah, but there's big money fights outside of world title fights, I guess, and not everyone will be wrapped up against everyone. You got to say it's not actually unfortunate for him because fights like Haney, Garcia are a headache to make. Fights with Gervonta Davis and anyone else, it's all these fights are headaches to make. The way you said it, it's like they're gonna get made very easily. In fact, where they might just look at Tennyson, who doesn't hold a belt, coming up like, all right, Farmer beat this guy down out that way. Let me have a pop and get him done. But
I think he might get his opportunity. I just don't fancy him to win a world title at lightweight because the talent's so good. But I understand what you're saying. Now we have to talk.
Are you underrating my guy's power?
Since when has Tennyson been your guy?
Tennyson's always been my guy. He knows he's watching this.
Does he know you are?
Yeah, Tennyson and me go way back.
Did he pick you out of a lineup?
I actually helped him, get that power he has. Because one day at the gym, I showed him the technique, so it's all credit to me really. But
one day at the gym, you gave him some beef.
Yeah, that's how it
from Mexico, and that was it. That was the end.
Wow. Yeah.
We have to talk. We don't have to, but I want to talk about presentation and ratings and that kind of whole angle that seems to have been played up a lot, especially on social media. Now, Mike Coppinger, US journalist, seems to have recently taken a keen interest in UK TV viewing figures, which he's entitled to do. I don't know why it's suddenly been sparked. There's plenty of speculation, but
he's on his game, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's there 24 hours after an event with the ratings, people chasing him. He's like, guys, I've got this. Yeah. Fair play to him, but I'm not sure how accurate some of the ratings are, I should say. I've seen the Barb figures for the Fight Camp opening. They don't quite tally with his, but that aside, he's highlighting the fact that the Matchroom ratings thus far, they've only had one show, have been significantly higher, as it stands, than the BT Studios show. Now, One of the reasons for that is that the Sky Show is on 3 different Sky channels, one of which is available in the basic package, the Sky Sports Mix, which is a big help. But what do you think about it? Why do you think more people apparently are tuning in to that show? And do you think it's anything to do with presentation, kind of the fight camp setting versus a studio setting?
It's a difficult one. Because are the official numbers out? Because I've seen Coppinger's numbers, but like are those like
if you're like a member of Barb or you've signed up, you get them early figures within 24 hours, and then you get the proper figures a week later. So I can look on Barb a week later and get them. But for now, yeah, Coppinger's obviously got signed up. But I know other people who've got signed up, and I've seen slightly different figures. But
yeah.
Well, what do you think of the 2 presentations? Not the fight cards and the action themselves, because we can talk about that, but the actual presentation, the setting, the overall event.
I think both for I mean, obviously you've got to be honest and say like Eddie's one is very extraordinary, and no one's done it before. Like literally, the guy's taken the Wembley Stadium's Canopy and ring and dashed it on his backyard, which caught a lot of people's attention. The thing about it is as well. I think Eddie's been in the public eye with like the youth as well quite a bit with everything that he's done in the past. So when he does something like this, it's obviously widespread on social media. Like, oh, he's even if they don't know the likes of Ted Cheeseman, like, oh my God, there's boxing in the back garden. They might tune in to see how this actually may be. But rating both of them, really, like obviously, like I mentioned already, that's extraordinary. I've loved the BT Sports setup. I've always liked the BT Sports studio. I think it's always like it looks so futuristic. You know, every time you walk in, it's like whoa, it catches you by surprise to see all of that firsthand. So to see boxing being taken place there, I think they've done class as well. I think they've done class in their own rights, both of them. But I think if you're talking about why they're separate, the viewing figures are so different. Again, like you mentioned, the packaging helps definitely. But I think the way that Eddie's portrayed on social media, and we know how big social media is, and whenever he does something like this, it's going to be caught on, and people are going to tune in even if they're not boxing fans.
Thunder Road on the live chat has said, haven't both of Frank's shows been on a Friday as well? I think he's actually had 3 shows so far, and at least one of them's been on a Saturday. So I don't think it's just down to that, although that probably does have an impact. We'll see when Fight Camp goes on Friday this week how much the figures differ. But then again, there aren't as many names necessarily on Friday's show, and we'll talk about Friday's show in a bit, but there aren't as many names necessarily on that show as there were on the Fight Camp launch show. I think when you look at BT Studios launch show against Matchroom's launch show, and that was the one on BT headlined by Brad Foster against James Beats Jr., which was a cracking fight and a decent undercard as well. I don't think in terms of in-ring action, there might be bigger names on the Matchroom card, but in terms of in-ring action, there wasn't a lot of difference.
No, but that's what separates the viewing figures, I guess. Because
the names, but I think also what Eddie's done really well, and I said this on the vlog yesterday, he's taken a negative and turned it into a positive in that there was nowhere else to put on the show. He thought, I'll stick it on in the back garden of Matchroom HQ. We've done a few things there before, barbecues, workouts, stuff like that. And he's made a virtue out of a necessity. He's made Fight Camp the star of the show as much as, if not more so, than Eggington and Cheeseman, who are the main eventers. Yeah. People were talking about Fight Camp, this quaint kind of novel concept of having it in the garden. And I thought when the lights went down, as you can see behind me, I thought it looked stunning.
Yeah, for sure.
Channel hoppers, people who'd heard about it by word of mouth, seen a line about it in a newspaper. I think that stuff has an effect. I think the returns will diminish week on week. I think we've seen the launch. Now we've got another 2 weeks of Fight Camp. It's not a novelty anymore. So I think that's going to be a test.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you could have done the same thing with BT Studios because everyone's seen it used for other things before.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure you could have made that a big kind of theme. But maybe something different could have been done. I'm not sure.
That's an accurate statement. I agree with you. I just want to say also, we should rename you Danny. I said it in my vlog yesterday. Flexen. That's every week without fail. You've said that once.
It's a bit long-winded for a nickname, though, isn't it?
Well, it'll stick. I want to pick up actually while we're talking about Fight Camp. What do you think about Eddie's idea of potentially doing like a reality TV show type thing with Fight Camp, like a yearly thing? Because I think that's absolutely genius.
Yeah, it's a really good idea because they're all stuck together in quarantine. But then what are you going to do? Put them in forced quarantine even when the virus has gone or there's a vaccine? You're just going to make them...
Well, no, I guess it'll be more open, but because it's all around the camp, It'll be pretty interesting to see what they get up to. Maybe spice it up in some cards, put people who don't like each
what
other.
I mean is, without the virus and stuff, they wouldn't have to stay in camp, would they?
True.
So are they going to make them stay in camp just for the show? I mean, they can. It's great for us.
Well, no, I guess you can just follow them around.
Yeah, like at home and stuff. Yeah, I mean,
like how the UFC do the fight, how they do the fight week content. But I guess make it more of I don't know. It's a thought, I guess, but it's a good thing.
They should do it like the Contender, where they all actually stay in the same place and then fight each other at the end of the week. That'd be hilarious.
That might be the thing, though. That he might not be going off just like fighting events or scheduled cards. It might be exactly what you just said.
Someone on I've just got to read this because it's funny. It's Thunder Road again. He's dominating this show. I really think Frank needs some younger blood in his promotion to counter Eddie. And who do you think he suggested?
I have no idea. Let me know.
Sam Jones.
Sam Jones.
Can you imagine Sam Jones and Frank Warren coexisting in the same office? And that's no disrespect to Sam. He's a great guy. He's done wonders already. But Frank Warren's like traditionalist, hard-nosed veteran. And then you've got Sam Jones, who never stops talking, kind of innovative.
Well, it might be a match made in heaven. It might be a match made in heaven. It really could.
Do you think?
Yeah, it can. Opposites attract sometimes.
Yeah, it could be the bromance we never knew we needed.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm on the live stream as well, by the way, and your background looks absolutely spectacular. I wish I still had mine on, but I'm still stuck.
You're in the Hollywood Hills. You were live.
I was.
Around the corner
I was in the Hollywood Hills. I was, yes. And we had to take it off.
Before we move on from Fight Camp and onto some viewer questions, perhaps, we've obviously got the next Fight Camp show taking place in just 3 days' time. We were both doing the conference calls earlier today, which have gone up on both our channels, I would imagine. In my vlog, no, I'm joking. Main event, historic, first ever female title fight between two British women. Terry Harper defending her WBC belt against Natasha Jonas. What do you make of that, and how do you feel the undercard shapes up?
The main event is something I've been looking forward to since it was announced. I think it was a slept-on event when it was first announced. It was like a next-gen show, wasn't it? But now I'm glad it's kind of picked up people's eyes because that's the only thing that's going to be on. Great fight. Terry's been literally level after level after level. It's been a pleasure to see her to advance to the level she's at. And I'll always say this, just, throw my little piece in, that her third fight, I presented her third fight at the Doncaster Dome before like any of the title fights. I remember hearing her name, I was like, who's this? Steffi Bull was telling us, and then we watched it, I'm like, oh, she's pretty tough. And to see that progression from the third fight to now has been incredible. Natasha Jonas is a good fight, but it's just, has she got it in her to take this opportunity? Maybe she knows it's her last opportunity, as a lot of people are saying, and is going to come out in a different sort of approach that we'll ever see, that we have ever seen of her. So it's going to be a good fight regardless. I want to see how they approach it. That's the main thing.
Steffi Bull's a great guy. He's fantastic at what he does, but he really should have done whatever interview he was doing today far away from where Terry Harper was doing the conference call. You could barely hear her half the time. You could hear him saying, oh, you've got to look at what she's done. She's amazing. He's like a hype man.
I love him, though. That's exactly what you need. That's exactly what you need. He's the perfect trainer and hype man put together. That's exactly what you need.
Yeah, it's good stuff. What do you make of the undercard? I've got to say, I'm not as excited about it as I was about the first fight.
Yeah.
I mean, we get to see Anthony Fowler, Chris Billum-Smith, but not necessarily in fights that we're expecting them to get a stern test in. Yeah,
I think Fowler's got the most interesting one of them all. What's his name again?
Adam Harper.
Adam Harper, that's right. So for him to, I don't know if you were on the stream when we were talking about this, when I interviewed him, and I was like, he was saying when he went over to Australia to fight Zerafa without a coach, and like, he does all these crazy things. The dude's never been knocked out. The way he was talking today, we know talking and fighting is two different things, but he looks like, he can play the part. He's fought Ryan Kelly and Zerafa, who are respectable opponents, not being knocked out by him. So it's going to be exciting, and we know Fowler's style can cause him problems sometimes, but he said he switched things up with his new coach, so it's going to be interesting. Other than that, though, I mean, it's great to see Akib Fiaz back in action. Really good talent. But I agree with you. Not exciting fights, but I guess we're not going to be spoiled all the time, are we?
Yeah, I mean, Adam Harper hasn't fought for nearly 2 years. That kind of takes away from it a little bit. If he'd been more active, I'd think it might be a closer fight. But I found it really interesting when Fowler was talking about the differences under Shane McGuigan. I keep nearly saying Shane McMahon from WWE, but yeah, Shane O'Mac, the other Shane O'Mac, and Dave Caldwell. And he said how Dave liked him to be really aggressive, whereas Shane liked him to use his jab more and move more. So I'll be interested to see that version of Fowler, who's got lost a bit since the amateurs. Although
we couldn't see that.
He said as an amateur, yeah, he said as an amateur, he liked to get in there and he liked to counter. But whenever I saw him as an amateur, he was very aggressive. So I don't know if he's kind of looking back on the amateur days with slightly rose-tinted glasses, but maybe I just haven't seen enough of the Anthony Fowler back catalogue. I think the sleeper fight on the show could be Billum Smith against Nathan Thorley. Thorley was a light heavyweight. He took the big jump up to cruiser. His only real test was down at light heavy, and he went through it in flying colours against Jermaine Assar. And he's tall. He's good technically. He was a good amateur as well. I think that could be a really good fight.
Yeah. He undefeated as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a good fight. Chris Billum Smith is another guy that I'm excited to see where he can go because. He's got a good package in terms of like he's strong. He's got heart as well. Good win over Glover. But yeah, that can be definitely a sleeper. But again, like it's just the fact that we don't know extremes about these guys, and maybe that's why it's not as exciting. It's not as well matched. But I'm just looking forward to it. Boxing Thea, I'm not gonna complain. Shut your mouth.
One more thing before we go to viewer questions. Recent interview with Eddie Hearn. He seems to think that Canelo's no longer going to be out in September, that he's going to fight perhaps later in the year now. How disappointing would that be for boxing, especially in the US coming after the lockdown?
Danny, aren't you used to it?
What, boxing disappointing me? Yeah. Lots of times, yeah, but...
It's just... I mean, I didn't even expect him to fight in September. When I saw it, I was just like... When it was announced that he may fight in September, I was just like, yeah, okay, that's cool. But the more the days go on, the more you realize that he won't fight in September. Canelo's like one of the biggest draws, if not the biggest draw in boxing. And it's like, you're not going to get him out that soon. He needs a camp. He needs promotion. He needs the right fighter. And it's just the same old story, man. I want to say so much, but yeah, I'm just fed up of situations like this in boxing. He's definitely not going to fight as well with the added whole thing about Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. These guys, are going to take the limelight a little bit in September as well. So, yeah. But at the end of the day, I think the way boxing is moving, both here in the US, I don't think it's a massive disappointment because we went months without boxing, and now that we're back, we can see the fighters that we don't concentrate on too much in good fights. And I think they're doing the same out in the US. PBC put on a hell of a little schedule for the next 6 months. Yeah, so I think it's not as missed. I don't know if you agree with me, but we can get through it without Canelo for a little while.
I think it won't be missed maybe by us, but I think for DAZN it could be very important, significant situation. Because we know there's rumours swirling around. They've been put up for sale apparently. The owner, rich guy, doesn't want a loss leader for too long on his portfolio. And if he's already thinking about letting go, the fact that the biggest star that they're affiliated with, someone they're paying a huge amount of money to, is not going to be available till later in the year at a crucial point, because they must have lost a huge amount of subscribers during the lockdown, as every subscription service will have, Netflix, etc., etc. No one's immune from it or from the virus, funnily enough.
I don't think Netflix will have, though.
Yeah. Well, I suppose because everyone's sitting at home. Yeah, fair point. Yeah. Bad example by me. But moving on from that, what does this mean for DAZN? It's got to be a bit of a hammer blow at just the wrong time.
Yeah, hats off to you for pointing that out because I didn't think of that. That kind of kills their motive as well. Not only I guess this is kind of pointless now, but they wanted to come to the UK in May with Billy Joe Saunders, and their ideal opponent was going to be either Callum Smith or John Ryder again in the UK after lockdown to stream. But now they're missing out on that for a minimum another month. I don't know, man. I don't know where DAZN's going to go, because I really do like the idea of DAZN and how they work, subscription based and an app and everything. But yeah, it's going to be difficult. Where do you see the future of DAZN line? Do you think they've got a future in boxing? It's not up to them, obviously, the pandemic and everything. Or what do you think?
I think it's difficult because they came out, they had loads of money, like they had more money available than anyone else in the marketplace. But despite that, they weren't able to tempt all the top stars they wanted over from other performers. They got Mikey Garcia initially on a one-show deal. Canelo was obviously a big signing. Golovkin, again, a big signing, but probably towards the end of his career now. All the other people that they were apparently chasing, all the names that were mentioned by Eddie Hearn in interviews that they'd be interested in, they haven't managed to prize away, largely from PBC, maybe some from Top Rank as well. And I think that's a big problem now, because if you're a DAZN subscriber thinking, oh, hang in there, who are you hanging your hat on? Canelo's not coming back now in September, according to Eddie. And they haven't got the other stars. And then PBC come out of a schedule that in America will be on either Showtime, which is a subscription service, of course, and Fox Sports, which is more widely available. Yeah. And they're great fights with big name fighters. And you're thinking, do I need DAZN? Is DAZN, especially if Canelo's not back yet, who on DAZN is event viewing? Who do I have to see? And I think that's a big problem.
And they're messing with Ryan Garcia as well, with his whole money issue. And he's the next, if anyone's the star away from Canelo, Joshua, these guys, Ryan Garcia is, even though he's not a world champion, we know the numbers that guy brings on. So their, youth star isn't even coming on board, which he should have in July, and he still hasn't done it. I think
it's the same issue with him as it is with Canelo, in that, and they're not just because they're part of the same training setup, but because there's no live gates at the moment. There's not a lot of money in the bank as there used to be, and their guys aren't going to fight for low money. They're going to wait it out because they've got enough money and fame to do that, and they'll wait until crowds come back and get the big money. And while that's fine for them, it's not great news for DAZN.
Hashtag boxing is all I can say. That's just boxing summed up, and it's just so sad for DAZN, but it literally is the same old with boxing. But hey, it's some positive, seeing as though we're talking about American boxing. Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence, November 21st. I want to ask you a question, not more so that to break down, but more so, where is it going to be behind closed doors? Because I kind of want to go.
What's the date?
November 21st.
You would think that they'll have some level of crowds back by then. Maybe distance, so like a third of the normal, whatever the size of the venue is.
What do you think it's going to be? I'm trying to figure it out, because I'm trying to plan my little holiday to America to watch this fight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Garcia is a decent draw on the East Coast, isn't he?
Yeah, Spence in New York.
Draw as well, but I would imagine New York would be like Barclays.
Yeah, Barclays probably.
You would think.
Yeah.
Good fight though, isn't it? Even without Spence's long layoff and the car crash and people not knowing just how good he can be, and the kind of ballsiness of him to go back in against a tough opponent, even without that, it'd be a good fight. So that's
it. Take notes. Everyone needs to take notes right now. Any professional boxer watching, from the ones that are taking those tough fights, take notes. Errol Spence was involved in a huge car crash where, we don't know how he's going to perform. Danny Garcia comes off
that bit.
Of course, don't take notes. But look at these guys. They're coming back post-pandemic, and they're just going straight into... It's not even just a good fight. It's a big fight. It's a huge fight. It's two of the best in the division. It's crazy.
It's a heroic thing. It's a heroic thing to do. Yeah, it puts me in mind of when you had your scooter accident and you were back working for Behind the Gloves not long after. You're our Errol Spence.
A day after, mate. Yeah. I came out of the hospital straight to Vegas, non-stop.
Straight on. I'm surprised you didn't have cameras in the hospital, recording your every move, behind the gloves, behind the scenes,
Should have done that. I was just a bit out of it, to be honest.
Now, Andy White on Twitter, he sent 3 questions. He must have known we wouldn't get a lot of questions from Twitter, so he sent 3 to make up for it. So, thanks, Andy. We'll go through these quickly. Number 1, does Eddie Hearn really dislike Frank Warren, or is it all hype? And he's kindly tagged in Hearn and Warren, which is interesting.
I don't think they... It's business, as some people say. It's just business, It's nothing personal. It's just business. I'm sure if they one night bumped into each other on a night out, they'll probably buy each other beer. I don't know. I don't think I don't think it's personal.
Didn't Eddie say something like he saw him once and he was on the phone and he ignored him or something like that?
Yeah, sure I remember that. What do you think? Do you think it's personal?
I think it is on at least one side, yeah. I think Eddie Hearn likes sticking it to Frank Warren. I think he likes making little comments that he knows are going to jab at him, like the TV ratings, for example. I don't think he actively dislikes Frank Warren, but I think he likes jabbing at him because he thinks he can get a rise out of him. He's got that kind of mentality where he likes to prod and poke the bear. But from Frank Warren's side, I don't think he dislikes Eddie, but I think he dislikes the whole mythology that's grown up around Eddie, especially amongst the casual audience, that he's kind of the saviour of boxing and that he's doing a lot of things that no one's ever done before. I think for Warren, who's been in the business for so long and was seen himself as the big kind of revolutionary early on when Mickey Duff and the cartel were in charge of boxing, and he kind of played the Eddie role, anti-establishment at first and then became the establishment. I think he probably thinks, well, I've seen all this before. I've done most of it. Why is everyone getting so excited about this new guy who's just doing the same stuff but dressed up in a prettier package?
The circle of life.
Yeah, he needs to go and watch The Lion King. That's a great point. Andy White also says, who is the most appropriate opponent for the White Rhino? Dave Allen, of course.
Ooh, good question, man. I want to see the White Rhino back in action. It's a weird one with him, isn't it? I don't know, because Dave, we know what level Dave's at, and we know where he wants to go in terms of you'll take a big fight, but you got to give the man the right money, which is fair enough. He's been through, I mean, his resume alone to say he's not won a title in boxing is impressive. It's really impressive. So, I don't know, actually. I'm going to hand that one over to you. Who do you think he should fight? Or who do you want him to fight?
Well, I guess it depends what level he wants to fight at, I suppose. But we've just seen...
He said any, I think.
We've just seen Fabio Wardley come off a good performance. Last time I interviewed Wardley, I suggested that as a fight for Wardley to advance his career.
I don't think Dave would take that. Dave knows how good Wardley is, and he doesn't want to be like the gatekeeper almost. He wants like a British title or something, and then get a good payday. That's what I'm saying. And the thing is, anyone that can actually say that, I think Dave has all the right to say that. I mean, the man, like I mentioned already, that his resume speaks for itself.
We've got a guy on the live chat, Emmanuel Jose. They're talking to 29 people, lol. He spelt there wrong for a start. It's THEY''RE, you dunce. But also, you're one of those 29 people. Take a look in the mirror. You're part of the problem or you're part of the solution, depending on your perspective on our show. But don't mock the fact that there's not that many people on the live stream because you're one of them. Sorry, ran over.
Well, it's called hard work. I've got a question here. Whose show was better, Frank's or Eddie? I believe Eddie's was. We answered this.
Someone didn't tune in from the start, yeah.
You gotta tune in earlier, man.
It'll be on the channel once we're finished. You can watch it back. See our best bits. G-Money Gerald. DAZN has other... Go on. G-Money Gerald on the live chat. He's just called Dave Allen a punch bag, which isn't very nice. But before that, he said, Danny Flexen, shout out my girl, Appy B. I hope I pronounced that right. I don't know why it's just me that has to shout her out and not you, but there you go. Hi, Appy B. We're here.
Wow. DAZN has other sports, I've been told.
Yes.
This is what Matt Bryant has said. So maybe they won't.
Hold the front page. Yeah, we know that. We're talking about DAZN's future in boxing. Yeah. I mean, if DAZN's sold, the new owners might not want boxing anymore. That's the issue, isn't it? But yeah, I know.
Where does Eddie go if that happens?
Yeah, that's a good point. Does he have to try and... Well, I suppose maybe it depends where Golden Boy goes as well. Maybe he can do some sort of link up with whoever Golden Boy end up with. Maybe they can work out something together. I don't know.
What is it? This ESPN. ESPN's with Top
Rank. Showtime and Fox with PBC.
Fox with PBC as well.
HBO, no interest in boxing apparently anymore.
Well, obviously they retired from the game.
I know. UFC network. WWE network.
I guess they can do two. I don't know. Depends.
Last question from Andy White, who supplied, at least 75% of today's questions. What's going on with Callum Smith? ! Question mark, exclamation mark. Come on, you're the man in the
Callum Smith is kind of, we already mentioned his name. We have zero idea what's going on with Callum Smith. But the guy was in line to fight Canelo, then he wasn't, then he was, then he wasn't, then he was, then he wasn't. That's literally what happened. And right about now, I don't know. I feel like, I've got a good feeling though. I feel like he's going to be featured on the next set of shows after August fight camp. If there's a September fight camp or maybe even a September arena show, I don't know how they're going to do what, but, you know, I feel like he's on the next bunch of people, and he might be like, you know, the Dylan White of this month. Feel like he may be up there, or maybe we'll have a few. I don't know, I've got a feeling.
Now, I've had a comment from Steve Teitelbaum, and it'll segue into something else I want to talk about, so I'm going to take this one. Danny, thoughts on Frank's lack of promotion? I kind of see what he's saying, but I think Frank's a bit of a disadvantage with BT Sport compared to Sky. I think Sky Sports have more channels. They've got Sky Sports News, which is a rolling news channel, which is regularly featuring Matchroom and boxing generally. Sky Sports Mix, as we talked about earlier, comes as part of the basic package, and boxing's often on there. And I think BT Sport, and great team there, nothing but good things. Well, not nothing but good things. I'm about to say a bad thing, but mostly good things to say about them. But I think they could give Frank Warren, Queensberry Promotions, a lot more support than they're doing at the moment. I think their boxing is a value proposition for BT Sport. It's not one of their core offerings like football, Premier League football and so on. Even UFC's probably outranking them or has done. Yeah. So I think if they wanted to, boxing could be a lot bigger for them. If they did more shoulder programming, if they did more promotion on some of their other channels. When they had the Fury fight coming up, you saw it on big football matches being advertised and stuff like that. And I think if they did that with the regular shows, that could make a difference.
I think they do. I see like when I watch like a football game midweek or something and there's like boxing on, they'll always mention it. But I think the first part of your argument made sense, like about the amount of channels, Sky Sports Mix, and then also the news channel as well. And it's one of the most popular ones, the most popular sports news channel. It's linked with Sky News. So yeah, it gives them a lot more leverage in that sense.
It does, and it leads to other things as well, like more coverage in national newspapers, big websites, more crossover stuff. Like you'll see more of the matchroom fighters on things like Good Morning Britain and things like that. I know Dubois and Joyce have been on Good Morning Britain, so it's not unheard of for Queensberry fighters to be on there as well. But I just think it becomes a self-fulfilling thing.
Soccer AM, stuff like that. Sky have their own football shows that they do include like boxers. We've seen Dylan go on Soccer AM and stuff. So yeah.
But I think if BT continues to grow and they prioritise boxing to a greater degree, then we could see more inroads being made by Queensberry.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to take that question is because I can't say too much about this, but at 8 o'clock, I believe, on Frank Warren's social media channels and also going out as a press release, there's going to be some huge news from Queensberry Promotions and Frank Warren. I can't say where it is.
You can tell me after this.
I'm going to be interviewing Big Frank tomorrow about it, but you're all going to find out in about 13 minutes exactly what's going on. So tune into their social channels at 8 o'clock. I've done them a bit of a favour there and just see what's going on.
You've given them the leverage.
Yeah, I hope so. The 29 people that guy mentioned will now be going to Frank Warren's social media pages, so you're welcome. Really enjoyed it again this week.
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed it too, hit the thumbs up. Give us your comments below. If you're not watching it live, be here next time, 7 o'clock next Tuesday, and we'll be waiting for you.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Catch you soon.
Take care.